Good morning, guys and gals. This is Mitch from sunny Florida again. I want to bring to you a latest project I worked on. I got involved with these little ultra micro planes. I bought this F-22. It was a Radio Shack transformer airplane or something. So I converted it and put a three-channel brick in there, and I got it to fly, and it flew pretty well. So next project, I did the MiG-29, which I cut out a foam board and painted, and it's not bad, but it flies real nice. It flies pretty good. Okay, so I wanted to come up with a more detailed, nicer looking model, and I came up with a Mirage, Israeli Mirage, and here it is. And you can see it's got some nice detail on it. It looks good. And this has thrust vectoring on it. Let me show you this here. You can see where, and of course my speed control. Okay, now let me tell you a little bit about the Mirage. It weighs in at 20 grams. It's the lightest one of these. The F-22 weighed 24 grams, 22 grams for the MiG. This one weighs 20 grams, so it's lighter. Has a 6.5-inch wingspan. It's powered by two, I believe they're 6 by 14 3.7 volt cordless motors, two counter-rotating props on there. There's 55 millimeter props. I have the UMX micro receiver with the two linear servos mounted in there. I hope you can see that. And I built that box around the receiver for protection for the receiver, also for guides for my push rods for my controls. That stiffened them up because of the thrust from the motor. They would flex a little bit, so I got that out. And it's 3.7 single cell LiPo battery. Now I haven't flown this one yet, so the flying's coming up, but I did want to share with you the Mirage. It came out real nice. It looks pretty good. And let me tell you now about the detailing and how you can build these things yourself. And now this plane, actually, other than the pod for the receiver, has only two pieces, the fuselage and the wing, and that's it. Okay, so let me explain how I did this, the detailing. Years ago, probably 20 years ago, I started experimenting with covering models with paper to get detail, and one of the first projects I did was a rocket-powered SR-71. If you can see that. Let me bring that down in frame here. And the whole thing's not going to fit in there, but you get an idea what it looks like. Let me move my Mirage here. And the technique came out pretty good. It's what I do is I built the airframe and then covered it with printouts. Okay, so after I did that one, I came up with I wanted to build another rocket, and I built an X-15. So I can show you that a little bit at a time here. This came out really sweet, beautiful model. Everything was printed out on the computer, then wrapped. I used an Estes rocket tube, Estes nose cone up here, and then I used a balsa wood to build the fins, and back then weren't using too much foam. Okay, and then there's the underside of this thing, but you can see the detail. Printing it out on the computer came out pretty sharp. And of course the cockpit detail. So that was my second project, and then I started covering models. I made and this is way before they were doing a lot of the park flyers. I was making some 2D models with printed sheets for my paint jobs and everything. But now I'm going to tell you how you go about this if you want to try it yourself. First of all, you have to get some high resolution pictures of the plane you want to do. You need a profile and a top view. And a top view of the wing and profile, and preferably if you can get a picture with the fuselage, both sides of the fuselage. Well, here's a Mirage printout I did. And I had to reverse the fuselage myself and then add the numbers correct, because of course once you flip it, all the numbers and lettering are the wrong way. So I just did that on a good Photoshop program. Okay, so print that out. So you're going to print your fuselage out, no matter what plane you want to do. Now I do these little microplanes so they fit on a 8.5 by 11 sheet. Okay, so after you print it out, you're going to spray this with clear acrylic spray, just the outside, the top, and that's going to seal that paint for you, because a lot of times the ink, if you get it wet or something, it will run. So you're just going to spray the top of it. And so here's a fuselage. I mean, that was a fuselage. Now here's a wing right here. Okay? So now what you're going to do, after you have those sprayed and they dry, there's two ways you can do this. You can cut accurately around your profile, cut it out, and then glue it to your styrofoam and trim your styrofoam. The easiest thing to do, though, is to cut it out and leave a border around the fuselage, about 1/4 inch border. Tape that to your foam. Do not get the tape on the print. You don't want to do that. Plus, when you're cutting with your X-Acto knife, what's going to happen, the blade's going to drag and you can rip the foam or rip the paper. And you really need a sharp, brand new X-Acto knife to cut these out accurately. Okay, so I'm going to cut one side of the fuselage out, glue it to the foam, cut one side out. Then neatly and accurately, I'm going to cut the other side out with a pair of good sharp scissors, cut it out, and then I'll glue that to the reverse side of the fuselage. Now, let me tell you about gluing this stuff. When you glue it, I use tacky glue. It's like a white glue, and it works good, but there's one thing, that when it dries, it shrinks, so you can get warpage. Now, when you're doing two sides, like the fuselage, here, because of the glue drying evenly, it keeps it straight. And there's one thing about these paper-covered planes, they're incredibly strong. It has a lot of strength. The thing that surprised me was that with the paper, I actually came up with a lighter model than the MiG-29, and the MiG-29 I painted the whole thing. Okay? So that saves you an incredible amount of time of painting and, and detailing, trying to do decals and everything. You do everything in one basic step, and you got a nice looking plane. Okay? So, you got your pieces glued together, and it's basically now you cut it out and fit it to your fuselage to your wing, and you're just about done. All you have to do is install your electronics and your controls. Now, I'm going to put a little build video on this plane, this Mirage. I'm going to put a little build video on it to show you guys the basic steps and everything. And I haven't flown this yet. I just did some test gliding to get the CG. And one short powered flight into the bushes, which showed that it was controllable and everything. But after I get a flight video, I'll put a little build video on there for you. And I hope that helps you out. And again, I just want to stress that this is a really simple way of getting real nice looking airplanes with good detail, and doesn't take much time at all to build them. I think I spent probably, if you measure in hours, probably a full day, 8-10 hours building this thing. And they're neat. Plus I put bombs on it and give it a little bit more class, my Sparrow missiles here. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and good luck on your projects. And again, I'll try to get a flight video of the Mirage and a build video. Have a good day, guys. Good flying.